Hello world, how are you all doing? Welcome back to another video where we're working on the open focus timer, and I'm having an echo here in my ear, which I have to turn off quickly. Let me do that for a second. Monitor off, there we go, so you should still hear me. Alright, so as always we're going to work on the open focus timer, and this is the last week's summary, open focus timer part 26. And you can see that we made quite a bit of progress, and we had a lot of learnings, and that's because we applied, or we switched over to Xcode 14 beta and macOS Ventura and iOS 16. So we are going to be using more and more new APIs in the next couple of weeks and months. And I'm expecting this app to be finished around the time that iOS 16 is going to come out. So, or let's hope that it's finished by then. And that's, I think, why it makes sense to switch on that version. And it's open source anyways, it's just for fun. So yeah, that's what I decided on there. And before we get to the open focus timer, let's quickly give an update, as always, on what has changed in the last week. So after WWDC, I'm still watching videos. So I'm like, when I'm eating and when I'm having lunch or eating dinner or something like that, always watch WWDC sessions still. So even after the first week, I'm still watching them. I think I have watched 10 or 15 more videos, and I'm planning to watch like until September probably. I'll be watching like 1 or 2 videos at least per week, and learning some new. There's so much this year, really, so many new APIs. Today I watched a video about transferable, which was also really interesting. And next I'm going to watch about networking API, which allows like communicating between Apple TV, iPhone, and maybe also iPhone, Mac, iPhone. I'm not sure yet. I have to watch the video to know. But if you want to know, once I decide to write about one of these things, if you want to read about that, make sure to follow me here on my Medium, jihad.medium.com. And also, if you're not following me on Twitter yet, I'm always sharing some new things. For example, when I watched the Visualize and Optimize with Concurrency video, which was also today, I really liked that video, actually. I thought it's more about instruments and how you can use instruments to find like issues in your code, but that was not the main focus of the session. It was really about concurrency and how you can use concurrency properly without like having hangs in your app and things like that. So really recommend this video. It's really practical. And I always share things like this on Twitter, so make sure to follow me at jihad on Twitter. And we are very close to 100 subscribers on YouTube. And then I can finally change this cryptic name to FlyingDev or whatever makes sense. And I need 100 subscribers for that, so make sure to follow me if you're not following me yet, and so we can get to the 100 subscribers and I can finally rename the channel. Alright, with this quick roundabout there, I think it's about time to go through this. So what I would do last time, we upgraded to Xcode 14, we fixed a couple of warnings there, and we merged multiple targets. We had an iOS and a macOS target. Now we have this one target thing, so let me show you that quickly for those who didn't see. Just a sec. All right, here, just one target, and now we have iPhone, iPad, and Mac here as destinations. So that's like the difference, and that worked well. Then we changed the target platform version to macOS Ventura on iOS 16. Unfortunately, I don't have Ventura on this Mac yet, and I will not have it anytime soon. So we will be focusing on the iOS 16 app, and we're not going to be able to see how this looks on Ventura. But then as soon as I install Ventura, probably around beta 6 maybe, or maybe just a GM release, I'm not sure yet, we will see. But then we're going to be able to basically update the UI to also work on Ventura again. All right, changes in category groups communicate to the category screen. We had a bug there, which was like communicating data properly, and now that's fixed. Replace usages of navigation view by navigation stack and split view. Not much done there yet, especially split view. I think we will do more on that once we have Ventura, and we can test it on Ventura. But on iOS, of course, it makes sense more to have navigation stack. We will still use the split view in one place where it just makes sense, and it also works on iOS fine. All right, I'm not going to reiterate on the learnings, just watch the last video. It's up here, Open Focus Timer part 26 on the YouTube channel, and to see that. But the next steps, we can copy them over. So we had some warnings shown for core data. And we have a lot of warnings that we wrote ourselves, which we might want to fix, and maybe that's something we can focus on today. I actually don't have anything else here except for like fixing warnings. So maybe we first need to figure out what we want to work on next and build like a small roadmap for the next tasks. All right, this is Open Focus Timer, part 27 already. And let's copy the next steps. And let me see first where we are at. So we wanted to build a timer, which basically works. It's not beautiful yet, but we can still, how long we still have, or can we? Let me have a look. So let's go to the timer view, timer feature and timer view. And if we just have a look at the preview, and this should be live, right? Yeah. Oh, preview crashed. All right, let's try iPhone 8. All right, this is a beta. Crashes are expected in a beta. We still want to use the beta because, yeah, there's a lot of learnings that we can have. And without the beta, we can't work with iOS 16 and Ventura as the targets. Okay, let's try here. Okay, preview also crashes here. All right, maybe the preview isn't really useful. Let's go to the actual app. Let's run it in the simulator. And I just want to see what features we have implemented. Maybe we can go on to some amazing new features next, or we can have a look at some warnings that we need to fix, or we can maybe figure out what else we can use from iOS 16 APIs. But let's first have a look where we are at. So let's recap what we have in the Open Focus Timer with the simulator, which is still starting. Go, you can do it. So Pomodoro timer, we want to see how much time is left. And we also want to have an alarm at the end. Maybe that's something we need to implement. We want to have an auto-completing task name so we can quickly start a new one, and custom links. So let's see what we do have from those. So for now, we have a task picker, a project picker. That kind of solves the task name thing. And then we can click close. And the timer is already in it. That's because for debug, we're using a 5-second timer. Continue, pause. Okay, there's some weird bug here, as we can see. It should actually, and when we are at 0, something else should happen. So maybe that's because there was some cache data, but I'm not sure. Anyways, we can edit the categories during a timer. We can edit the summary during a timer. And the summary should also show up at the end of a session. So when we start a new one, and just close. Let's see if it works this time. No, it doesn't work anymore. So we have a bug here. And I also saw that our tests were failing. Maybe this is the first thing we should fix. But let's still have a look at what else we have. So categories, each gets its own editable color and icon, 2-dimensional project versus... I think this is pretty much done. So I will actually convert this and just strike through what we already have. And then we have auto-completing task name, kind of implemented. Custom length is not implemented yet. An alarm at the end. We do have a alert, so yeah, let's count that as well as done. And just custom length is missing, which we can easily add, I guess. Then reflection, free text view for summary, for problem blockers, learnings, and next steps. So we have that. And currently, I think we are saving it as just one field. And we want to make this like a list kind of thing. But basically, this is done. Like the basic feature is there. Then we have history, check what you've been doing lately, what you've learned, and what slowed you down. So this is not yet implemented. Then we have statistics, history filterable by categories, category breakdown per field. This is also not implemented yet. And shortcut support, allow the shortcuts app to start. I think this is something new I've added, by the way. But I think this is really key, having shortcut support, especially now that we have app intents as a new framework. So this should be much easier to implement. Allow the shortcuts app to start, stop, pause, and continue sessioning, and vice versa. e.g. start an action to cause a shortcut. So both ways, when you start a session in the OpenFocus timer, we want to be able to relate this to a shortcut being started, so that the shortcut can do other things like starting a focus or something like that. And also when you do run a shortcut, that you can also start the session inside the app, or pause or continue or whatever. And I think that makes a lot of sense to have that kind of both way functionality implemented in the shortcuts support. But I think we should work on the basics as well. So I'm going to start with this here and fix the tests first to make sure this, I mean, we have tests for the screen and we want to make this screen work. Then we can probably continue with the history or statistics. I guess history makes sense to have first, and then statistics. Probably they are kind of interrelated. Maybe we can have one view for that. All right, let's get on and let's have a look at what tests we have right now and what are failing. So I'll be just stopping this from running. I'll be building the test target. Let's see if it even builds. It does. Oh, we don't have tests directly linked to this scheme. That's interesting. So we have the test target here, and okay, nothing linked here. And actually I want to run all the tests when we have this open, and we do have tests, not many of them, but for model and for timer feature. So let's have a look first. Timer feature, is it linked here? Yes, this is linked here, and it's also randomized, etc. What about the model? This is also linked, randomized, etc. That's looking fine. So all I need to do is, if I want to run everything at once, that's probably because we created a new target, right? So this target, which is just called app, is not connected with the test targets yet, but that's easy to add. Let's just add them from here and there. Let's just make sure they are both executed in parallel and randomized. All right. So now we should be able to just say Command U and run the tests. I'm expecting them to fail because the CI is always saying they do fail, and we have not run them for quite a while. So it's about time to fix them. I'm guessing that these probably will pass, but the test typical timer lifetime will probably not pass, as we have new models showing and all things like that. That should be easy enough to fix, but nothing's happening right now. I don't know why. What's going on? We need to add like a unit test target here. Is that why it doesn't work? Test is running, but no outputs. I don't really know what's currently happening. All right, let's first run them in the model and in the timer themselves. Saying it's testing, but it feels like nothing's happening. Is there a bug with tests? Let's check that. So you go to downloads and I have to sign in for that. Let's open the Xcodes app. I think that's faster. And then we should be able to just get the info and see the release notes just like that. Yep. My mouse's battery is empty. Let me fix that. I have to connect it quickly. So I have the Logitech vertical mouse, and it both works with cable and with battery. So that's one of the cool features. So as soon as I connect the cable, I can use it again. There we go. And it's at the same time loading. All right, so let's see if there's anything mentioned related to tests. Test flight, test house, upgrading single target correctly updates, okay. This is a new feature. Okay, watch of apps created with Xcode 14 failed to launch during UI tests. That's not really our use case. Number of performance improvements. New features, resolved issues. Okay, I don't see why this shouldn't work. So there's no... okay, it did work. It just took some time to start. I don't know why. And they passed, as we expected. Let's run the timer feature tests. And I expect that to fail. Let's also go to the code. So this is one of the strong features of the composable architecture, where you can create like a test store with your state, your reducer, and your environment. And then you can just send to it the different actions that the user basically does on the actual UI of your app. And you're just mimicking them with the different things that happen on the store. And that's also what happens when the user clicks. We just say view store.send. And so basically we're doing the same things here in the test and in the actual logic of the app. And that's why it's pretty much the same as a user really clicking that button. And you can see start or continue button press, for example, and then we can, in the closure, basically, we were getting the state object of this test store, and we can adjust it here. For example, setting timer is running to true, which is basically what we expect of the state to be after this action was triggered. So that's why I call it expected state, and then we are basically adjusting the exact expected state to the state that we expect it to be in. And if it doesn't have the same state after this action was run in the actual app, then basically the TCA architecture or the tester library, the tester here, will give us a assertion error or assertion failure, and that means that we have an issue and our test fails. And this is exactly what's happening here. So here we're sending pause button pressed, and also when you don't specify any changes to the state, but there are changes in the state, it tells you, hey, there is a change in the state. Or when the pause button press, for example, if it causes another action to be run and you don't specify it here, then it also tells you, hey, you click this and then some other action was triggered, but you didn't specify it here in the test. So that's what's happening here. It says, test typical time and lifetime, a state is changed does not match expectation. Okay, it's the expected state here that doesn't match. So pause button was pressed, and what actually happened is the category state selector state changed, and now we actually had a category selector state. Although when in our test we don't specify anything like that, so it expected it to stay null. Must handle one received action before. Also, there was an action which was set collector category selector is presented true. So all right, let's go through this and just imagine what we expect to happen. And also let me run the app on the side so we can see also what really happens, which also is the same as probably the assertions are telling us. And there's a white horsey, so let's catch that first. Oh, I don't own a ball. Let's get the Pokeballs back. Let me buy something here. So you can play in the chat, you can play Pokemon. We have an integration here, if you don't know already. And I need to have many more Pokeballs. And I can buy quite a bit of them. So I'll buy 20. All right, now I should be able to. All right, my ball is thrown, and let's hope so. We have the state here, and in the tests, we're first sending this start or continue button pressed action, and this is this button. So when I click that, we see the edit categories view appeared. But what we did here is we sent the pause button press right away, and this already should cause an error, because before we can do that, this already causes some other action. So actually what we expect, and we are expecting that, is that the store receives an action, and that the action received is set categories selector is presented to true. So this is the action we're expecting, because this is what's causing this to appear. And that's exactly what happened. That's why the test had failed. And now we have updated our expectation here. And let me rerun this test. Hope it will work now. Yeah, test failed, but we don't get any errors here. I want to switch back to the timer feature. I think it works better this way. All right, so it says, what's the next thing? Okay, it actually received this action. We're no longer getting that, but it also expected when we received that the expected state, the category selector, nope, expected state, that the category selector state is now actually 1. And do we have a focus timer created here? Yes, we have. We expect it to be this focus timer object and the context to be managed object context. All right. So this should fix the issue here up till there. Let's see if it does. I'm rerunning the test, and we're no longer getting an issue here. So when we click the start button, we received this action, and we received the action. We expected the state to change. Everything happened as expected. So let's comment this with click start button. Then we are clicking the pause button, which doesn't make sense, I think, because we first have to leave this screen. So actually what we need to do, let's go back to the apps. Back to the app's behavior, which is when we click the start button, this appears, and then we can select these things. One is pre-selected, so maybe without selecting anything. Well, let's actually select something. So do we have task types, etc. in here? Let's see about that. No, we don't have anything here. So let's set up these as well. So we have this persistence controller and memory and controller. We have this, we have a now date there. And let's actually add a category group and maybe some categories. So let's say let's do the same as here. Task type category group, category group, and we're creating it with context, which is managed object context. Name, let's call it task type. Color doesn't really matter. Icon also doesn't really matter. I'll just use what do we use here? Doesn't really matter. I'm just using person. And the group. Oh wait, I was creating the wrong thing. This is a category. We want to create a category group first. There we go. And this is much easier to create. It just takes a manage object context. I will just call this context. I think this is much shorter. This will allow us to write more things in one line. Well, that was fast. So that rename was really fast, and I'm impressed by Xcode 14 there. That's cool. We have context. This is task type. Let category, let the first category be, let's use code review. Code review. And I think there is one with chevron, left, right. This looks more like code review. left forward slash this one. This looks like code review. And the group is our task type category group. Let's make this a bit more beautiful. I really wish Xcode had like a shortcut or button or something that could basically structure a call like this. I'm not aware of that, so if anybody here knows a shortcut like that, please let me know. Anyways, category code review. I think it's fine if we have 2 each, so I will be creating a project category group. And we'll be creating, so we had code review here and programming. Let's go with programming. Copy that. Now we just rename this to programming. And actually I will change this one to check mark seal, something like that for code review, and chevron for that. Code review will make, I don't know, yellow, and programming is blue. All right, then we have project category group, and for that I'm going to create we have here main project 1, side project 1. Why not just say main project 1 and side project? So main project category. Let's actually copy these here too. I think that saves us some time. And this is just this was code review, and now we're having a main project and side project. For main project, I'll just use, I don't know, what's like a main project. Do we have like a 1? Can we find for main 1 or 1 like that? 1 dot circle. All right, let's do it like that then. I think it's 1 circle. And of course we're using project category group now. And side project, I'll just use 2 square. And colors, we just use, I don't know, orange and purple. All right, that's about it. I'm not sure we need to save because it's a in-memory persistence controller anyways, but this seems to be double. Oh yeah, this is programming, category programming. All right, so we create all these data, and this is actually all, I think, setting up data. So maybe we should put it into a setup kind of thing, or even the class. Have you used Bluetooth to send data to other iPhone devices? So first, Yedit, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? If I use Bluetooth to send data to other iPhones, as a user, yes, I have done that. Although to other iPhones, well, if you're sending data from iPhone to iPhone, you're typically using AirDrop, right? If you're sharing files or things like that. If I was about to, like, what's your use case? Maybe that's going to help. Are you trying to send some data as a developer, like from one app from your app to your app on another iPhone? Is that your use case? What I definitely can point you towards is during this DubDubDC, actually, there is a new framework which is called networking or something like that. Let me go to the sessions and find out the right one. I'm making a game. Oh yeah. So for game, I think you have a couple of interesting things you can do. So if you're planning on local communication, so I think they have something here now, but I'm not sure if it's here. Build device-to-device interactions with network framework. So this is something you might want to check out. Go into local mode, exactly. So check out this session. It's an entirely new framework. And if you can target iOS 16, this is something you should definitely consider using. I'm doing it on React Native, but I think I need to use the Bluetooth module on Swift. Ah, okay, React Native. I have no idea about React Native. Okay, but I have done something where I wrote basically an app that used Bluetooth discovery, I think, or something like that. I don't quite remember, but I connected basically. I tried to connect basically to a media server, and that's what I did. I'm not sure if that's your use case. As far as I know, there are native libraries and things like that. I don't know if you can use new frameworks in React Native. I always thought you can. So if you can, this is the new framework that you should basically ask for if you can access that on React Native. And there's a device picker. I haven't watched the session here yet, but for sure it's, you can also read Apple's documentation on networking. I'm not sure, this is I think the new framework, but I think Apple, I did something with Bluetooth. I think, yeah, we worked on a dongle for cars once. So a Bluetooth dongle for cars, and then we had to connect to the Bluetooth dongle with an iPhone. That's what we did. Not iPhone to iPhone, but as far as I know, yeah, okay, I have actually done that. So Apple Bluetooth. So what exactly you want to do? You're trying to write a game. I haven't ejected my project from React Native. Okay, I see. But there is APIs for Bluetooth. I think if you're working with Bluetooth, there are two things you can do. You can either be something like a Bluetooth server. I think there is a different name for that. Or you can be a Bluetooth observer or something like that. Core Bluetooth framework here, Core Bluetooth programming guide. So if you want to know all the APIs that you have available that are like on the core level, right? I read this guide and they have exactly centrals and peripherals. That was the name. So the central basically can send data and things like that, and the peripheral can accept data. And I think what you need to do is you need to make one of the iPhones, probably the starting game one, the central, and then the other you need to say, okay, I'm the peripheral, and then you can connect them. Just read this whole documentation, even though you don't really use this directly. This goes over all the concepts basically. So I will share the link here. Exactly, one shares the game and the other one is asshole. Yeah, this should work. I'm not sure how reliable Bluetooth is, if it's fast and things like that. Those are entirely different stories, but this guide should walk you really through all the details you need to know. And also this core Bluetooth overview probably gives you a good feeling of how this works. So this is like a peripheral device, this is the central, and I think you need to make one phone the central and the other ones, if you have multiple players, that other thing. But there are also other okay, let me read first your comments. I'm doing it on React Native, but I think I need to use Bluetooth module on Swift. I have to eject my React. Yeah, I know how to do Bluetooth so the other device, okay. But I want to phone to multiple phones. So one person hosts the game over Bluetooth and everyone sends the game data once the game ends to the host. And host device decides winner and other things. Yeah, I read the peripheral and Bluetooth LE stuff. All right, if you know these things, I don't know much more than that. And I have never connected to multiple devices with Bluetooth. And I know that there was always problems with also headphones. I always wanted to connect to my iPhone multiple headphones so multiple people can listen. I've already always read that there is limitations that you can always only connect one device. Apple somehow solved that for their AirPods, so now you can connect multiple AirPods. But I'm not sure if they're using Bluetooth for that, or if they're using like some mixed technology where they use some kind of other communication, like local Wi-Fi, to figure out the connection and then just beamforming Bluetooth. I really don't know, so I can't give you more hints than that. But I personally would never opt for Bluetooth to communicate. I would always try to use something else like Wi-Fi. And what you could do is you could just set up an HTTP server on one iPhone and the others are just connecting to it via REST. That should also be possible. You can actually run an HTTP server on an iPhone. It's absolutely capable of doing that. So that's also something you can do if you really can't use Apple's frameworks. But I would try to opt for these new frameworks. I don't know if they do exactly what you need, but looks like this is basically what I just said with having a server and things like that. But of course, this API probably is much nicer than if you write your own HTTP server in Swift. And you could use, for example, Vapor for that. If you wrote it in Swift, or if you want to write it in another language, you can do that as well. But I think that's the best way. I would go via Wi-Fi for that, because Bluetooth, I'm not really sure. And if you are in the same Wi-Fi network, then I think that's the best approach. There is also Game Center. I'm not sure if this has any APIs. I have never used that. And I also am not aware about any gaming APIs. I'm not a game developer. Yeah, I'll just probably do it over Wi-Fi like a normal person. That's probably your best bet, I would say, if you are using React Native. If you're using more native technologies, you have probably more options. One other thing I want to mention, I'm not sure if that's even useful for your use case, is Shareplay. So Shareplay, actually, that's also APIs from Apple. Go here. The problem with Shareplay is you need to call someone, basically, and via FaceTime call, for example. So it's not really made for local communication. It's made for remote communication, but I just wanted to mention this in case you didn't know that Shareplay not only supports like phone call and like watching video together, you can also play games together, and you can via Shareplay. It has like a data connection channel, and you can send data via Shareplay. I don't know how reliable that is and things like that, but it does work, and you have these APIs as well. Yeah, but you'll probably go with local HTTP server. Have you ever done iMessage apps? No, I have not written any iMessage apps, and I really don't know the limitations there. It's very specific for me. I just want to do Bluetooth so people can play offline if they're together. It should still work if they all connect to the iPhone. So if you build a personal hotspot on the iPhone, if you're like, I don't know, you're on a train and you're turning on your personal hotspot, of course, the downside is your iPhone's battery usage is going to be very high, but it's technically going to work. You can just create a personal hotspot, everybody connects to that iPhone, and you should be able to play as well. Oh, okay, I'll look into Shareplay. That's awesome. Yeah, that's cool. But again, this is like you're basically having a phone call, and while that you're playing your game. But that's maybe, I don't know your use case, but if it's a game and your goal is just to make people be able to play together, this is actually a cool way to solve the connection issue, and even not locally, even if you're like at home. That's really cool. And the only downside again here is it will only work with iOS. So iOS device to iOS device. There's no Shareplay on Android. As far as I know, it's also not planned. So that's another caveat there. All right, let's get back here, and we're trying to fix the tests here. And I have a lot of setting up code here. Who's smart? Like a local HTTP server over hotspot. Yeah, exactly. I think I also know some apps that actually implemented that years ago, like 10 years ago, even things like that. So it's definitely technically possible. I don't know how, again, battery drain is a problem, definitely. Yeah, things like that. But it should work. So let's maybe just execute these and make these private variables. Although I'm not sure. Let's keep them there. We can extract them if we need to, really. But this is setting up code. Let's actually add at least add a comment there. Setups environment or test data. All right. This is all setup. This is the state. Okay, this is the start of the test. Start of the test, basically. Then we click the start button and then click pause button. But before we click pause button, we want to first select, and because we're going to be in in this state now. So we want to first select a task type. Let's say store.send. I'm going to send a category selector action, and it's going to be category group selection changed, and the group is going to be task type group. And we're going to select the second one, which is a category side project. Oh wait, this is the project. Categories programming, that's it. Category programming. And we're going to also send another thing, which is category selector, category selection, and this time the project category group sending the secondary or side project it was. Category side project, and there we go. After we've done these two changes, we want to close. So we're sending the category selector, close button pressed. All right, when we click close button press, I actually expect to receive, or yeah, I will actually expect to receive the action set category selector is presented false, because it should dismiss it. And with that action, I also expect the state to change. So expected state, category selector state should be nil again. All right, I think we are going to have some changes here as well, like expected state. Let's make this multiple lines like that. Okay, expected state. Here I expect, after sending that action, that the category selector state. Do we have even category selector state? Category groups, selected group categories. Selected group categories. Yeah, I expect this to be this is task type category group is going to, I expect it to be category programming, and the other one, which is project category group, should still be the main project category, because this should be the pre-selected. It's just the first. And likewise, when we do this here, I expect the state to change so that the side project is now selected one, and then we're sending the close button press, and I expect it to close and all things like that. All right, so we have some build issues here. Oh yeah, that's not the entire state changes, but the what was the name? Selected group categories, there we go. And we have to testable import this, which is category selector, because it's internal. So let's add testable import. Category selector, there we go. Can we build now? And of course, this should be made a bit more readable. Must be unwrapped. Is it an optional, really? No, it's not. But this is an optional, of course. So, like this. Does this help? Test typical time live test state does change. Oh, that's a failure. The previous run. What's going on here? Let me try to run this. Build started, build failed. Because that's also an awesome feature of Xcode 14, by the way. And the last builds are failures, which are these here. they are now grayed out, and the other ones, they are now red. So you can see this is from the last build, and this is from a build before that, and those are not relevant to my last build. So that's really amazing. And we didn't have that before. All right, we're going into a break, so I'll be back after around 5 minutes. See you around there. All right, I'm back, and let's continue with fixing our tests here. So let's catch that Pokemon as well. So select category groups, says value optional, must be unwrapped to refer to select category unwrapped. Expected state is optional, category selector state, this is optional. Yeah, wrong place. There we go. Does it build now? Yes. All right, let's see how far we come in our test now. Okay, so we're getting here, and state change does not match expectation. We expected the category group. Okay, something changed here. Okay, maybe we should just change the representation of a category, because this is not really helpful, this output here. Just showing that there is a category without telling us which category. Or can we change that? We try to extend category by custom string convertible. Maybe that's what is being used there. And I believe this requirement of it is to have a description. So let's implement description. And I'm just going to return the name. I think we have a name for a category, and the same for a category group as well. That must be unwrapped. Better this way. Looks like, but I'm not sure if that's really what's being used in the comparison here, but we'll see. If it uses custom string convertible. Oh no, it's not building. Category is ambiguous for type lookup model.category. Does that help? Was already stated in a types model module model, so it is already custom string convertible. That's interesting, so that's not going to help. Yeah, it's still saying, okay, let me quickly leave that up. This is Pine-free library called, why am I not signed in? Nope. Oh, I didn't add these here, so let me look that up here. Let me type it in. Oh, just happened. Okay, I'm now signed in. There we go. So Point-free's library custom Swift custom dump. This is what it's being used for the difference. And we can customize it by custom dump string convertible. There we go. So let's make it custom dump string convertible. Let's see its expectations. Custom dump description, all right. Custom dump description. Custom dump string convertible. All right, this should help. We better know what's actually going on there. So it's telling us that the main project was removed. And the other one was unchanged. In this change, which should actually not be the case. Okay, so when we change this, let's go to the actual logic here in the reducer. So we don't have an action handler here yet, but we're saying for category and state, where category group is group. This looks all right to me. Let's actually check that when we create this new thing, that the expected state here. Can we access the state? Yeah. So the expected state is category selector state, xct assert. Let's do no difference here. So what we expect it to be is basically this here. Which we can maybe put in one line. But what we actually get is store.state.category selector state select group categories. So let's see if that fails or not. So no difference failed, and it was actually it was actually having none of these, so it was basically empty. And so this is it starts, so when we create a new category selector state, it starts off with an empty one, and then it goes through every category in focus time typed categories. All right, so it sets the categories as selected here as already in the focus timer. And if you don't have anything in the focus timer, it won't set anything. And then what happens in the view? So let me put it differently. We saw here that we have something pre-selected here. Why is there something pre-selected? If I close it now, it will set it to the focus timer. I hope. I'm not sure. All right, so maybe we need in our view here an empty, a null state, like nothing selected, and we don't have it yet. So category selector view, we have a picker for each category group, and we're saying the selection is whatever is selected group categories of the group. And whenever it changes, we're setting category selection changed, and we're passing that on. That kind of makes sense. But here model category, this is an optional. So it is an optional category, and it can be nil actually, but when will it be nil? Categories. Okay, when we create a focus timer though, for this new view, how do we create it? So we're passing the focus timer in here, so we need to find a place where we're passing it in. Focus timer. Oh, that's not helpful. Probably doing init or just like this. Also not the case. Okay, where were we creating this? So we have the categories selector, the timer reducer, I'm guessing, yes. So in here we're saying initialize, and then we're passing the state's current focus timer. And when is this being created? It's also passed, all right. But we are also creating, when we're resetting, what were we doing here? The categories are empty actually, so we're not setting any categories. So I'm kind of confused why this is empty. But it does make sense that this is empty, as long as we don't set it to something. Ah, okay, that makes sense. All right, so at the start, this is actually empty. So it's like an empty dictionary, and that we can put into one line. And then we're setting the category group. The first one, so it's set to that, and then with both, it's set to both. All right, this should be passing now. That makes sense. Okay, so it failed, but until here everything worked fine. So we clicked the close button, then it disappeared, everything looks fine. Then we click the pause button. We expected the timer is running to change to false, which also happened. Then we click the start or continue button, continue in that case, and then it was running again. That makes sense. Click continue button. And this is set both categories and close. Next up, test schedule advance by 1 second. All right. Let 1 second pass. We're receiving and we're expecting to receive timer ticked, which is also happening, or we expect it to happen, but it's not. Instead, all right, so a lot of things are changing. Time left is changing to, oh, it's not changing, is oh, okay. Test schedule advanced by 1 second. Store receive timer ticked, and then after timer ticked is received, I expect the minutes to be 24 and the seconds to be 59. So this is the expected state, but actually we got 1500. Not what we expected. Also, the category selector state was showing again. Why that? So we click continue. Let me do that. When I click continue, it does not actually show up that screen, which is totally expected. And it's also always resetting here. It's really weird. Let's pause. Let's continue. Yeah, it's not. Okay, I'm kind of confused. So why is that happening? We're clicking start or continue button pressed, and then we're letting 1 second pass. Now we expect just the time left to change, but also the category selector state changes, so it is showing it. This is weird. All right, let me reset this app. Probably best to just delete it. And then install it again. All right, let me start the timer. Let's make this a little bit bigger for the video. All right, so when we start this, we get this. I select something else, close this, and pause. This is basically what we do here. Start, it appears. We select one thing, we select another thing, and we click the close button, and we click pause. So we're here now. Now if I click continue, timer should be running again. 1 second passes, timer should tick. Continue. I mean, this does work at least. What if I close this just like that? Without selecting anything. Let me edit summary. ABC. So we have those close buttons, but it's not really telling us if it's saving or not. We're auto-saving. It's maybe not perfect, but it works. The question still remains, why is this state not as expected? I'm really not sure. By the way, also this focus timer doesn't really help with its name, but it should be fine. Time left. It's also not changing, so timer is also not really ticking. This is weird. Timer can set category select. Oh, okay. Also, we received set category select is presented. Why? Maybe we should tick the timer before. Because in reality, when we start the timer, it's also ticking while we are making these other selections. Let's replicate that. So I'm going to let it tick. We click the start button and I let it tick once here. And then I expect this to happen. And then we're going to select one of them, or two of them. Let's select both. And then before we click the close button, I'll let it tick once more. And it's going to be 58. And then set both categories. Oops. Close categories selector. And then click pause button. Actually, one more second pause here. Then we click the pause button. We can actually let 5 more seconds pass. And this time nothing should happen. And we click the continue button, let 1 more second pass, then we should be at 57, right? No. This should be 57 and this should be 56. Alright, let's see what happens now. Test failed, but I'm not seeing any fail here because we're again not in the timer feature. I don't know why, but we have to be in there to make the test actually pass. Or run, not pass. Alright, so we're getting farther now. So it was kind of an issue with the modal being presented, and while like without any second passing, if we dismiss it again, I guess I was showing it again or something, but that's fine. That's not possible to ever happen because the animation itself takes too long, and then user reacting, it definitely takes more than a second. All right. So now we are here and we have a problem here because we are of course no longer at 58, instead we're at 50. I think we need to do 55 here. Adjust that, let's run again. Yeah, that works. So we're counting down to 0 basically here. Each time we're expecting 1 second to go down, and then the last one, we're expecting both the timers running to be false and the time left to be 0. And we expect to receive the set time as up alert. And then what we can do, instead of setting it to false, I will just say store the send time is up alert, set time is up alert. dismiss, edit summary button pressed, not dismiss button pressed, edit summary button pressed. And if we do that, we expect actually an action to happen. Oh wait, no, we expect first the alert to disappear, so show times up alert should be false again. Or this should be called. Okay, this should be called by that. Set times up alert is presented false, and then this should be like that. That makes sense. And at the same time, I also expect to receive a set reflection is presented. And then of course we expect the state to set the reflection state to our focus timer. And then in the state we can do more actions. So let me just write a to do here to add some reflection data, but let's see if it passes still here. No, something is not as expected. So what happens is are we receiving? So received unexpected action. We expected this one first. All right. So the order is different. I'm guessing that in the category, no, in the timer reducer, or do we have an action handler there? No. In the timer reducer, we're first calling the set reflection. No, we're saying timer reset requested. All right. And set reflection. Set reflection. The requested reset requested is not even being mentioned here. Was this the right place? Let me go back. Set reflection is presented. This is after this is being called. I'm talking about edit categories button press. So it's saying no, the edit summary button. So we're just saying set reflection is presented to true. We're not dismissing the alert. I'm guessing the alert dismisses itself. I'm not sure. Okay. But we're expecting the reflection instead to happen. Let's rerun the test with this. This works, and then we expect to receive timer reset requested. Expect to receive an action, but not receive none. Yeah, this is too early. Instead, we are in the reflection screen now, and we want to do the to do now. So in the reflection screen, in here, we're going to add some text in some of these fields. Arconsis, welcome, welcome. Raiding with a party of 2. How are you doing? How was your stream? Half So Wild, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? How is everybody doing? We're working on the Open Focus Timer, which is a long-running open source app here, and we're currently at fixing a unit test basically that we wrote for this timer because it was no longer working and the timer was behaving weirdly, and so we're fixing the unit test there. Hi Dragon Dust, and for free times or free L Moritz, welcome as well. Some iOS app and sign in with Apple. So you worked on sign in with Apple? That sounds nice. Is that still the best approach? What about passkeys? Did you consider passkeys, or is it too early for that because it's still in beta? How's everybody's Friday and how was your weeks? Let me know. All right, so we were writing tests here, and the next thing we want to do is in our test, we want to add some text here. We're basically in our test, we're going through the screen. We're clicking a start button, choosing something here, closing this, clicking a pause, clicking continue. We have done all that. Currently, we're at after we clicked edit summary here, this appears, and now we want to click some things here. So this is like an integration test that I'm currently writing or updating. Yes, just a quick session introducing it. All right, so you introduced sign in with Apple. That's nice. How do you like signing with Apple? Is that like a nice experience implementing that? That would be nice to know. And no passkeys yet. Yeah, I can imagine. Too early for that. I'll be just adding some data here and then click the close button in the test. So let's do that. And that's with the TCA architecture. That's easy enough. We can just send the action to our reflection screen. So we have the reflection screen, and this has actions for bindings. So we have used now reflection state. Let's go to that. We have specified these as bindings, and I want to actually change them up a bit here. And now we can just pass some things into it by just calling the set key path, for example, progress to a new value, which is like what did you do? We've introduced sign in with Apple. I don't know how exactly it's written. Well, let's do this as a progress point here that we're adding. And also let's send the reflection action binding to our key path. What else do we have? Learnings. So what learnings did you have? SwiftUI has a nice button to handle the whole process, so easy as pie. Apple, sign in with Apple is easy as pie. All right, so these are the two values that we're setting. All right, Jihad, have a great Steam and happy weekend. You too, have a nice weekend. Thank you very much for rating, and have a nice weekend and see you next week, I guess. Hopefully. Okay, we have to specify the dollar sign here to make it the binding. And also we can now specify here the expected state. Of course, we're expecting it to change. Let me scroll that a bit up. Thank you, always welcome. Yeah, sure, thanks. I also will make sure to raid you in case you're live when I'm going. Which we have still some time, so yeah. All right. So when we send this action, I expect the state to actually change. And it's saying something's wrong here. Key path value cannot be converted to a contextual type. Key path reflection state, bindable type string. Isn't it the same? Writable key path and key path. No idea what's going on. This should actually work. Gonna have a look into that in a second, but let's go first with the expected state. I actually expect it to check. Okay, this is not auto-completing anymore. Do we need to send directly here? Is there a set? No. Binding. Huh, okay, I don't really know how to set this properly. I think this could be the issue, that we need to call set directly instead of binding action, but not entirely sure. Does this build? Oh, progress is inaccessible because it's internal. That's the problem. And that's easy to fix. We just need to testable import, and this should be reflection state is inside of reflection feature. Okay, build succeeds now, so we should now have the expected state, and we should be able to say reflection state dot progress. We now expect to be set to this string. And same here. Expected state of the reflection state's learnings should be now set to that string. And after that, we can actually click the close button. So I'm going to send reflection action, close button pressed. and I expect this to cause the set reflection is presented false action to be called, and that should actually change the state. Of reflection state to nil again, because that's how we control showing a modal and not. And with that, after that, we should actually have timer reset requested. I think we should receive that right here. So let's run the test and see if everything is happening as expected. No, not really. So it's saying that when we, but up to here, everything works. So when we change these values, it does actually change the state correctly. And when we click close, it also calls into this. Or is this the issue? No, it is calling that, but the current focus timer is changing, so the object itself is changing. Which does that? Yeah, it does make sense. So we have to change also our focus timer object here. So we expect, actually, even after these here, the current focus timer should now have the progress points. I think we have typed progress points here. Set to rich text entry, context, and then this text here. Focus timer. It's focus timer. So this is a weird. I'm not really sure if this is correct. Let's check that. And also the other one, of course, which is this API. Oh, gotta go to the door. Be right back. All right. Let's get back to it, and I actually want to quickly finish up the test so we can actually start on a new feature. So let's see how we can get this done as fast as possible. So ended at, I actually expect the date to be now date, and how long is our scheduler set? It's 25 minutes, I think. So I think it's just now date plus 25 minutes, right? So we can create a new adding time interval, 25 minutes. For everyone here who doesn't know where these minutes come from, this is an extension that I wrote in the Handy Swift library, which you can find online, and you can include into your apps as well because it's open source. It's basically where I put all my reusable stuff in. I have Handy Swift, I have Handy SwiftUI, I have Handy UI Kit. So that's basically what you can check out if you want to use that as well. I find that much more readable, and it also has like conversions. You can also say like minutes, and then you can get like the hours from that as a double and things like that. So all kinds of useful extensions there. Ended at this is creating a new date with 25 minutes later. I think this should be the right end date. And if we look into it, we can see that it's actually 1 AM and 5:06. So it doesn't look like 25 minutes, but maybe it is 20. Huh. That's weird. This is an entirely different date. Ah, okay, we're not using the environment when we're setting the end date. That's why. So let's check. Ended at. When is this being set? Initialization, we're setting it to whatever we get past here, okay. Okay, it's using now here, and then now date is .now by default. Maybe we should not make this default to anything, so it's more explicit that we need to set it when we complete, and the same when we tick. Let's build this, it should fail now. And we will have to fix the places where it fails. So in the timer store, we're calling timer state. we're calling complete here, and again we have these. That's exactly why we shouldn't have them default to anything. We should be passing these things down. Completed. Now. Spell again. And now in the reducer, where we are calling into tick, we can now say tick. Come on, auto completion, come on. Okay, we can now say tick with now, and then we have the environment which gives us a now, which has a now date producer, so we can just call that here. And the same goes for reset as well. Should be, I think here. Should be one more place failing. Oh, we are passing the environment here, so actually here we're calling now, and this time around we're just going to say, but where is it getting called? Wait a second. Okay, I have to find a place calling that. Yes, this is not what I was looking for. Are we never calling this? Where do we call complete? Nowhere. So we're never completing it that way. Update local state with focus timer. So how do we complete it then? We should be completing it when the timer reducer. So we have the actions and we get the timer ticked and set time is upward, timer reset requested. So when timer ticked, when this is ticking, okay, and update local state, okay, time left, all right. I don't think we really need this. What do we do when we say completed? Focus timer extension. We have a complete, where's completed? Just complete, I can see here. Okay, we're setting the end date to that, and we're setting running to false. Okay, here we have a logic. So we have this tick, and this is basically already passing the now. All right, so we don't really need the other complete function here. So this is unused code. Let's get back out to our test, and now the tests might actually have a more useful date there. So we were not passing in the date from the environment, and that's definitely something we shouldn't do. And by the way, I will not be doing a full hour, so maybe we can change the time here. Bit down. Let me actually just turn this off. So I think we have like 10 more minutes to go. I think I started at half. All right. So our test is still failing, but now we have a date that is 25 minutes later. Exactly. Now this is working, and this is actually the actual changes. And this is okay. We did it the wrong way. It's comparing it the other way than expected. So where is it? So this is what we are expecting, question mark. Let me go back. So I'm saying a certain no difference, and this is not failing. So this works. We could also say XCT assert no difference with focus timer ended at with now date advanced adding time interval minutes 25. Let's see if that passes. Okay, this is already not passing. Instead, this is still the now date. but it should actually be ended. Maybe it's getting ended here. What about now? What about now? This should be also fine if it's ended after. Yeah, okay, this passes. And this should also be the change. The time left, okay. And it's also changing these other things. Started at, ended at, but I'm saying ended at here. I'm kind of confused still. Focus timer of the reflection state. Also no changes. Oh, that's so confusing. Okay, actually, I don't want to mess with this for too long. This is kind of confusing data structure here, and I will just put a warning here that we need to fix this sometime later. What about that stuff? What if we just move this up here? Still failing? Yeah, still weird stuff. Okay, I have no idea what's going on here, but I'm expecting that these things have changed just like this. So I will just say timer requested. I'm expecting this to be received. I'm expecting this to be the case. I'm expecting the reflection state to be null. Okay. So I'm guessing that these two will fail, or this one at least. Oh, these two actually. Ended at. Oh wait, so when I say advance by 1, I'm not advancing the now date producer. Oh, this already has a now date. This is interesting. Maybe we can fix this part at least. So we have, we need to go to the composable architecture library. Will you witness? Welcome to the stream. How are you doing? How was your Friday? Or how was your Friday? So I'm trying to figure out how I can advance my environment's now date producer. So if I go to our timer app environment, I think there I have a now date producer, and I set it somewhere. I'm guessing in the app when I start it, like here, and I'm just saying date.now. But of course this has to change when the scheduler changes, so that's why I have to do something here. I'm not really sure how to do that, so let me check that out quickly. Friday's still going on at work, trying to make some C++ code defined for a single client to deal with multiple clients. I'm replacing a lot of single variables with lists. So good luck with that. Are you a C++ coder? Like, is that your main job, or is it like are switching over between different things? Ooh, you're on the new iOS SDK already. Yeah, I'm on the new one. I'm actually currently with this project, which is a open source app that I'm working just once a week here in stream, and like for 2 hours. I'm expecting, because I'm just working so small amounts of time each week, this not to be released before September. So I have actually changed the target to iOS 16 even. So I am on the even on the beta SDK. So really new everything here. And I can't even test the Mac app because I don't have macOS Ventura. Obviously, installing macOS beta on a main machine doesn't make much sense. So I'll be able to test the Ventura part only very late in the time, but I think we can figure that out. All right, so do they have it documented here? How I can work with their test scheduler? Maybe I should just go to documentation. Where's the documentation? I just misclicked. Let's go back, documentation. And here the main branch. All right, let's go with test scheduler. Okay, it's not there. What about test store? There we go. So in a test store. So they do advance their time as well. But do they have a now date producer or something like that? Is it built into the test scheduler? We're on 13 still right now. At least you can use SwiftUI. Like 13 is the minimum for SwiftUI, right? And isn't it that everything that supports iOS 13 also support, every device that supports iOS 13 also supports iOS 14 and even iOS 15? Wasn't that the case? Because that's like a good argument to explain to your managers or things like that, that maybe it does make sense to upgrade even from 13 directly to 15 and just add in the latest 13 version, add like a hint that users should upgrade if they want to get a latest version, because their devices can upgrade. I think that was the case, if I'm not mistaken. So that's how I convinced in my last company. I convinced them to jump, like they wanted to jump from iOS 12 to 13. I convinced them to jump from 12 to 15 right away. So we had SwiftUI free from day one. Maybe that's something for you as well. I'll actually have a look into their examples. I think they have an example. They always have great examples. So examples, case studies, SwiftUI case studies. And let's see what kind of fits here. So we're working with timers. Maybe it's about tests. Do I have tests examples? Okay, maybe there are tests here. Where's the environment? Timers environment. It just has a main queue. Okay, it does not have anything else. Okay, let me just go to the implementation. Maybe that's going to help more, because the implementation always is also very well documented. Problem is you need free disk space on the phone to upgrade, and we found that a lot of our users seem to be stuck on 13 and update won't go through due to memory being full. When were the features introduced that helped you upgrade? Things like, how is it called, when the app does get deleted without deleting the data? And things like that. I think Apple did a lot of things to make it easier to upgrade if you don't have much space left. I'm just not sure at which iOS version they implemented that. I'm not sure if it's iOS 13 already, but maybe that's another thing, how maybe you could create like a tutorial for users to upgrade. But yeah, that's of course a business decision, and I don't know your business, so I can't really help you. I just explained how I convinced my business, and it was also for a new app anyways. So yeah, that's that. I wanted to go into the test support. There we go. Test store. Does it have a scheduler here? Flight effects. How was that again? I think that was the reason at some point at least we are pushing for iOS updates and usually get them eventually, but people already bought a car from us, so we're trying not to be too pushy on the app side. Okay, so you're working in a car manufacturer, like you're working on an app for a car manufacturer, and they bought your car, and your car has like an accompanying app, and you don't want to be too pushy. All right. So did you consider at least maybe, I don't know if that works, but if you have like a newer version or more features or something like that for newer cars, maybe you could go basically cut the cord and say like, okay, the old cars, I don't know. That's a business decision. Okay, I'm not going to think about different options here. I'm sure your managers, they will already think about these things. Yeah, we make the phone apps you use to do stuff with your car, like turn on the seat heating, etc. Yeah, that's cool. That's a nice and I'm guessing important, well-tested app. I hope it has to be, right? I hope it is. Maybe you can tell me otherwise, but you never know how these decisions were made. Okay, I wanted to search for if they have a now producer or something with now. Increment now, okay. Scheduler.now. But how is it being changed? Time interval now, voice memo tests. Scheduler now, advanced by. Now this looks interesting. So they have a test scheduler and they're saying schedule after. Okay, now advanced. Okay, this is not what I need. How can you get the now date with the scheduler? This is what my question is. Yeah, if we have good reason to go above 13, I'm sure we would get it through eventually. But I only noticed recently because I typed date.now and it told me that that's 15 only or whatever. Yeah, something like that. I'm not even sure if it's 15. I think it could also be Swift version. I think date.now is added into the Swift standard library or something like that. So I think that's just a new way to get that. And I think that version is only available on iOS 14, 15 or something like that. Technically, what you could probably do is ship a newer version of Swift, like it was done before Swift 5, before Swift was ABI stable, but then your binary is going to get larger, and yeah, it's not the best idea. You could also just wait and introduce it later. But yeah, date.now is really the last thing you really need, because you could just write an extension for date where you have exactly that API, right? You could just write like an extension date and then var now, and then you could just return date with the, like you wrote just. I mean, not that difficult to write date instead. Yeah, but the extension, you could also write that and you would have the same API that you also get later. Doesn't really matter. Okay, I can't really figure out how this works. I'm going to just document that we need to fix or improve the tests there. I mean, we are testing most of the things here in the timer feature tests. The only things that don't work yet is first this one here. So let's add a developer warning. Why is this not completing? There we go. First off, we want to make sure that make sure that the now date producer changes when, what's the call? Test scheduler is advanced. When the test scheduler's date is advanced. Which breaks this assertion, or why this assertion doesn't work. Yeah, or we just put it like that, and then I just comment this out, and then it's clear that this is related to that. yeah, we have a rhythm at which we update SDKs pretty close to when Apple drops support, and we can always do availability checks for stuff that needs it. Pretty close to when Apple drops support. What do you mean by that? I mean, you mean like Apple doesn't support iOS 12 updates anymore? Is that what you mean? Like they don't have any security updates for iOS 12 anymore, and that's what you mean by support? Is that what you mean? That kind of makes sense, of course, for a larger company to do it like that. Store to receive this was also not working, and this is not working due to some weird things going on. So no idea what's going on there. That's right. No idea why this, why the focus timer here doesn't update. Investigate and fix, but for the tests to pass, we're going to turn it off, and let's see if they are passing without these two. No, we're now having a problem here too. Yeah, it's a continuation of the same problem. So at least the tests are working until here. No longer. Set reflection is presented. And okay, they two are being called, and okay. I have to state that this is being received. Can I somehow say store.ignore in-flight effects, ignore output? What does this do? Nope. In-flight effects. I think there was a new API introduced how I can ignore this. Okay, so new release of composable architecture. Oh, 1 hour ago, look at that. We're seeing the newest things here. Added a new runtime warning for when a binding action is sent to the store. Wasn't applied to the user. This should help diagnose. Regression for a test store sent and received wasn't introduced. That failed to perform assertions against the state. All right. So debug fixes, basically. But there was a new feature also shipped here. Apple usually updates current -1 with security updates, if I remember correctly, and important stuff at -2. 16 isn't out yet, so that's basically 13 plus that Apple still supports. I haven't had to worry about that recently, as I've been doing a lot of C++ side, and a colleague took care of that. I see. I know the rule with current -1. Isn't that, I think that's also what most apps try to support when they are, even if you're developing like a new app, you're trying to support the current version plus the one last major version. So currently it would be iOS 15 and iOS 14. If you started a new app now, you would try to support iOS 14. And the main reason for that is because then you support more than 90% of devices. That's like basically always the case for Apple devices. But I think, especially right now, if you started a new app, at least, I mean, in your case, I totally understand your decision making there. Adopt changes from 1 hour ago. Let's get dangerous. These are bug fixes. I don't really care about them. I can actually upgrade, and this shouldn't be an issue. I've had a lot of upgrades with composable architecture, and they're really making sure that they never have breaking changes shipping. Yeah, they try to not have breaking changes at all. But they have introduced something new here for a test store, so I can. A bug was introduced. No, that was not it. So I can ignore any leftover tasks. Where was that? Breaking change. Test stores will now catch assertions and not change state. If they have breaking changes, they're documented like this. There was a way to tell the test store that it should just ignore everything. Test store. Okay, I'm not sure, maybe we can't actually do that. Maybe I was just learning that we now have access to the state, so we can make more custom assertions. Yeah, but if your app goes with expensive hardware, people usually expect a bit longer support. Yeah, of course. As I said, in your case, it totally makes sense. What I want to say is that I think we're in a specific situation where with iOS 13, 14, and 15 supporting exactly the same devices, if you're writing a new app right now, I would definitely recommend for iOS 15 for, of course, if you don't have to support like everybody's devices, because you can basically tell everyone who basically says, hey, I don't have iOS 15, but I have iOS 13. You could just tell them, please just upgrade. That's like, yeah, I think it works for other situations. In your case, I think it makes sense what you're doing. Yeah, but and yeah, we're an established app. For new apps, I usually go newest SDK for initial development and only backport if there's a really good reason. I get that, but in this situation right now, yeah, if you should go with iOS 16 or not, that's also like an interesting decision. In this app, I'm doing that because I know it's going to be released probably September or later, and also this is an open source tool and it's for fun, for learning, and only I will be using it, and it's also probably going to be for free and things like that, so I don't really care. I just want to use the latest things, and it's nice for me for as a learning project as well. But having that said, we are now learning that we can't actually turn that off, and I'm going to keep them, and I'm just going to comment these things, and our tests are still not going to pass, unfortunately. So I will still get emails each time I make a commit here that the CI has failed, but we'll figure this out later. I don't have that much of time to work with this weird thing going on here. Instead, I want to focus on feature next time, so let me commit this, and then let's close this up for today. Oh, I haven't even opened fork yet. Let's check out what we've done. So we have in our new app target, which merges together the iOS and the Mac app target, which is one of the things we did in the last stream. We have now added the test target, so it runs it. CodeHop, welcome to the stream. How are you doing? Welcome back. I was just closing up, so let me finish this commit and then summarize everything. Focus timer. So we have removed these default properties. They were really making us not recognize that we forgot to pass these on, and some small changes here, and same there, just adjustments. And then here, this is what the part that we have totally revamped. So we have revamped the entire test of our timer, and it is now working up until quite the end. So what we did basically is revamp tests of timer feature, working nearly till the end now, passing. Or close to passing, close to passing. See comments or warnings. All right. Fine, thanks. How about you? I'm great. I'm doing great. This week was nice. I had actually in the app that I'm working on, maybe let me share that in a second. Let me quickly make these changes of Swift format, include that into the commit. Let's push that. So in this week, actually, I had a problem with the app that I'm currently actually working on, and I tweeted about it. You can see it here. No, not that. This one here. After 3 days of investigation, I finally found the culprit extremely slowing down my SwiftUI view while typing in a text editor. So I had a problem. I have like a view with text, multiple text editors actually, and whenever I typed into text, it was really slow. Like I was typing 10 characters and it was at 2, 3, 4. I could like watch how it's added the characters one by one. So something was slowing down. I thought it's in my data. I thought it's in my, I don't know, business logic. Maybe in, I don't know, anything. Maybe it was a bug in the TCA architecture. So I really tried to find like a minimum example of my issue. And I worked on this for multiple days. I used the instruments app, I analyzed everything. I couldn't find the culprit. What was the issue? I didn't know. Until I said, okay, I'm really giving up now. I'm just going to comment out line by line my view, like my SwiftUI view, and just see if I comment out something specific, if the UI is going to be fast again. And actually, it did work, because I commented out this HStack line. Yeah, and I noticed it was already faster, and I said, okay, maybe I should comment out the same HStack where in the other place where I'm using my custom keyboard shortcut group view. So I commented out the HStack here as well, and then it was totally fast. And I was thinking, like, what's going on? Just changing an HStack to a VStack fixes that. And the end solution that I had applied now is I just changed my HStack with a lazy HStack. Although this is not a view that like has a lot of views, it just has 3 of those keyboard shortcut groups, and it's also not in a view. There's no list included. There's not hundreds of data or something. It's like 15 views or something like that. But it's like there is like a lot of HStack, VStack going on. I actually also coded that. This is the structure of my app here, or of that view. So we have a VStack, a couple of VStacks here, and then a text editor, then a VStack, and an iflet, and basically this is my structure. And I do have a scroll view, but those views are not in the scroll view. My scroll view basically is entirely independent of those places where the HStacks are that are causing some really weird issue there. I reported it as a bug to Apple. I also posted the report number. Here it is. Yeah, that's what my week was like, to answer your question. So Uli Witness writes, 16 isn't out yet, so that's a gamble. Can you afford for your release date to slip if 16 is delayed? For a free app, totally. If you need to make money by time X, I'd usually go for the current chip release. Yeah, so the app that I'm working on right now, I'm using iOS 15 as, and now it's a Mac app, so it's macOS 12.0. That's what my target is there, and I'm not going to change that fast. But I am actually planning to be faster in switching to the latest version. And my reasoning for that is that, like, when I say faster for a Mac app, I guess I need to wait longer because Mac people on Mac update not that fast. I haven't decided yet, but I'm guessing half a year even after macOS Ventura is out. I'm probably going to switch my Target SDK to Ventura already. But my rationale for that is my app is not going to have like lots of thousands of features, and it's not going to be complicated and things like that. And I'm guessing that I will have a pretty stable version by like after 6 months after my initial release. And I'm guessing, and people will be able to, who have already downloaded my app on macOS 12, they will be able to continue using it. So that's like my rationale for why I think I can switch. But we will see how things go, and I will definitely follow how many of my users are going to upgrade to Ventura. And if it's not going to be enough, I'm definitely not going to be able to make that update. But if it's like 50% of people, I will already consider dropping macOS 12. If it's over 80%, then I will definitely drop it, because the last 20%, as an indie developer, I don't really care, to be honest. Like making 20% more or less, I rather have the latest technology and have fun. That's like one of the reasons why I became an indie developer, because I can make decisions like that. But I will make sure that I somehow support the old versions as well. I'm thinking of making a release in between. Like for example, if I make if I ever have version 1.5 supporting macOS 12, and then I go version 2.0 supporting only Ventura. Maybe if there's a serious bug on macOS 12 version, I really have to fix that. I will probably make a Target 12 upgrade of my app, ship that, and then make another upgrade again. I don't know. I will figure something out there. Maybe I will also just post a version of my app outside of the App Store to for those who need an older version, because you can't really branch versions. I have to figure out something. I do want to support, of course, my users who are paying, but I also want to use latest technology, so I have to figure something out there. But for this app that we're working on here, which is totally open source, you can find it here. Open Focus Timer. It's open source, and this is a more learning and fun project for me. and just for streaming. And also I'm planning to make an iOS course on YouTube for total beginners, but I'm also going to go into details of some more advanced topics as well. So there's going to be topics also interesting for others, and more like about best practices and things like that. And I think this streaming of this Open Focus Timer basically could help those people who are going to be watching the course, because then they can have like a full, from start to finish example of an app being developed with all the details they want to know about. And that's the idea of the stream basically. And also I'm doing open source work anyways. From time to time, I'm also doing like work on BodyCrouch, which is one of my tools. And my app actually is related to that. So this is one of the tools that I wrote, and it has a lot of issues reported, or feature requests to be more correct. And sometimes I also stream how I develop on that. Was HStack the one that has items next to each other, and VStack the one items below each other? Yeah, exactly. Or was it the reverse? No, VStack, V means vertical, H means horizontal. And for me also, in case you always mix up vertical with horizontal, which I did for quite a time myself. The trick how I really remember that is horizontal. I mean, the horizon is like that, right? So if it's horizontal, it's like side by side. It's like this way. And if it's the other one, if it's vertical, then it's this one. So they're below each other. Yeah, your users get new features faster if you can go to the new version. Yeah, backporting needs uptime for features, absolutely. And if you're working alone on an app, and I want to do multiple apps, and that's like another challenge there, then you definitely want to be on the latest as much as possible. One of the good news is because I'm going to do multiple apps, I'm not going to be working fully on new features on every app at the same time. I'm going to focus on one app or 2 or 3 apps in one time. So I think there are going to be apps which I will just not touch, except for making bug fixes or small features and things like that. So they will support all the versions. So there will be apps supporting all the versions. But as soon as I say like, okay, I want to implement a totally new feature in this app, I think I'm going to drop again. But I will always check the statistics, so I don't really drop. I don't really make my users mad. That's what I care most about. My users, they should be happy, and I want to support them. And in the worst case, again, as I said, I will make a bug fix release and just ship it outside of the App Store for those users. And even if it's like available for free or something like that, I will figure something out. It's an old version anyways, so I will find a way there. I can remember horizontal versus horizon, but some apps say flip horizontal as flip across the horizontal axis, which is actually a vertical flip. Yeah, okay, I get what you mean. Yeah, makes sense. This is not a flip, this is just like a list, horizontal list, or a stack, how it's called. So a horizontal stack is a stack like that, a vertical stack is a stack like this. All right, so this is that. And I just want to write down for myself as a reminder that we want to work on history and statistics next time. So let's also summarize what we did here in our summary document. So this is, I think, a pretty good summary. Let's go to Notion and go back to this here. So we have revamped the tests there and not much else. But next time, start implementing the history statistics screens in main window. So this is basically what we want to do, and for that we're going to use the new Swift charts library. This is one of the great things we can do, and one of the reasons I definitely want to switch to iOS 16 is because we are planning, if I go back here, we're planning to have a statistics view of all the times that we have tracked. And you can like see and filter by categories and things like that. And of course I want to visualize it nicely. And we have the new Swift charts library, and I can use that. And that's going to be amazing. So I'm going to learn how to use that as well. Yeah, for Mac apps that works, exactly. It's the app I'm currently working on is a Mac app. So is a VStack a bunch of vertically stacked views? Personally, yes. Or is it a stack with vertical separators? There are no separators. If you use an HStack, if you want to have a separator, you have to actually call into a divider. Let's see if I have any here. No, I don't. Okay, but if I went into, I don't know, the timer feature, timer view, and you can see you can provide a spacer. You see a VStack here. By this spacer, I'm saying put all these view at the bottom of the screen, because the spacer is flexible in space. It's just an empty spacer. And if I put a divider in between here, I just call into divider. So this puts a separated line. Without that, there's no line. If that was your question. I'm never sure until I see the icon in the interface builder. Ah, you're talking about the stacks in interface builder. Yeah, they're different. They're different than in SwiftUI. I don't think the VStack has an underlying UI, how is it called? Stack view? UI stack view? I don't think it's implemented like that, because the VStack works entirely differently. I think it's more like a layout, it's SwiftUI layout thing, and it works entirely different from UI stack view. So it's a different concept. Anyways, so that's that. We have written down that we want to work on this next. Do we have any problems or blockers? Yeah, weird state changes with focus timer object in tests. Yeah, that's what we definitely saw there, and recognized. That's more learning. Recognize that we don't have a way to adjust now time producer in yeah, basically that's, I think, where I would understand that. All right, this is a summary from today, and before I finish up, quick reminder that I will be writing a Swift Evolution Monthly actually tomorrow. I'm not sure if it's going to be finished by tomorrow, but I'm going to write the next issue starting tomorrow. So if you're not following me there, you can go to Swift. You can either follow me here on jihad.medium.com or just go to swiftmonthly.flyingdev.com. Oh wait, there's a typo there. And this is basically a newsletter that I'm posting that is about Swift evolution. So what's coming next in Swift? And I'm covering them as soon as they become official proposals that are starting to be reviewed. And because by that time, it's very likely that they're going to be accepted. As I wrote in my first issue, over 90% of all proposals are being accepted. And last time I wrote about Swift regex and things like that. So if you want to know basically earlier than WWDC what's coming next in Swift, follow this newsletter. If you're not following me on Twitter, I'm always posting new stuff here as well. I'm at Jihad there. And most importantly though, if you're not following me on YouTube yet, we have some people who are watching here. I have 96 subscribers right now, and I just left to reach the 100. And if I reach the 100, I can change this cryptic name here to Flying Dev or whatever I prefer, and that would be really awesome. So if you want to help me get that, please make sure to follow me on YouTube or subscribe on YouTube, where I'm posting basically my streams. And it's just one video per week, except for WWDC where I had a lot of watch along and summary sessions. So also make sure to check that out if you don't know that yet. It's all actually in my Twitter. I have a Twitter thread where I did a summary of all the sessions I watched in the first week. So one tweet per session that I watched, summarizing my learnings. So here, there, etc. So if you don't know that, also check that out. Oh, I know I was just illustrating why you can't rely on horizontal and vertical meaning. One thing, because so often people use different reference system, like conceptual separators, and then it's the opposite of what you think. Yeah, true. Now you're at 97. Thank you very much, President Not Sure One. Thank you for that. Let me refresh. And this should be at 97 now. That's amazing. So yeah, I hope this will be reached soon, and then I can finally rename that channel. And yeah, that's that. Thank you for being around, everyone in the chat. I'm going to, if you're watching on Twitch, I'm going to check out if there's anyone online who's also doing development. So I'll be rating those. Make sure to stay for those. Oh, DB Validation X98. Yo, thank you very much. That's going fast this time. Hype Train. Yeah, Hype Train is on. All right, everybody watching on YouTube, make sure to like this video, and everyone else, yeah, just have a nice weekend, have a nice time, and I'll be back, because this is also getting asked all the time. I'll be back next week on Friday. I'm streaming each Friday at 3 p.m. my time, which is Central European time, for 2.5 hours. That's my goal, and basically that's how I'm going to continue. By the way, love the Idiocracy reference in your name. All right, so thank you everyone, see you around, and everybody on Twitch stays, so I will be raiding if I find somebody. Goodbye and see you next time.